It is our hope that through these events we can educate people from a grassroots level and make the first transitional steps towards a more sustainable future. Today our first speaker is James Pauly. James advocates for Beyond Zero emissions as well as a wide range of other sustainability groups. He will present a DIY at home process for converting your petrol or gas guzzling car into a clean running electric voltaic engine. He'll be covering the know-how, what resources you'll need, and a rough estimation of cost. Please make him welcome.
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to Z-Day 2014. My name's James, and I've been giving some presentations for Beyond Zero in the past, and I gave the Station Energy Plan presentation here last year, and Alex asked me if I wanted to give it again, and I thought, well, some of you have probably already heard about that, and if you want to know more, you can definitely go to the Beyond Zero website. And I had another idea. I said to Alex, well, maybe I'll give one on how to convert a car to electric. And he said, sure. So I quickly scrambled together this talk in the last couple of weeks, so it's not totally refined, but it's less of a how and more of a why, so maybe it'll inspire you to go and do some more research yourself and figure out how to do it, because in the age of the internet, if you want to know how to do something, you can just go and look it up. Yeah, so I'll jump right into it. So I know, just as well as you do, that an electric car isn't going to solve the gridlock problem that we have worldwide. Just switching the power plant over to electric certainly isn't going to solve that. But there's still definitely, I believe, in a a transition or a resource-based economy. We're still going to have a need for some electric vehicles out there. Certainly things like rescue vehicles, like helicopters and fire trucks, ambulances, things like that. They can't run on a train line or whatever, or in a ET3 tube. If anyone hasn't heard of the ET3 transport system, they should definitely YouTube that. That was covered in last year's Z-Day. Yeah, pretty inspiring stuff.
I'm from the Taichung chapter of in Taiwan, the Zeitgeist chapter, and I know for a fact that in Asia there are municipalities where the police force in Hong Kong now has electric motorcycles. There is a move throughout Asia where government bodies are switching across to EV vehicles.
Fantastic. Wow. That's really good. This is the car that I'm converting to electric at home. It's a 1987 Nissan Skyline. Like I said, probably the ugliest car known to man. But the reasons for converting it is it's cheap. There is quite a lot of club support for this kind of car, so if you need spare parts or whatever, it's all there. But I'll cover some more about that later on. You can't really see that at all, can you? Anyway, there's two large electric motors here and the gearbox, and to give you an idea of scale, there's a can of degreaser spray there. They're roughly 280 mils in diameter, and they're about 1 meter long when the two motors are put end to end. You could run a car just off one motor, but overkill is always appropriate as a demonstration, so I'm building this car to be quick, to try and show that electric cars don't have to be boring. So what is an electric car? Well, any type of vehicle that runs purely on electric drive, specifically not a hybrid. Hybrids are a good demonstration of what electric drive can do. You've probably been in one of the new Prius taxis or whatever and seen on the display when you're driving on purely electric and felt the feel of it. But they are pretty over-engineered, they're quite complicated. I would hate to try and have to work on one myself. Electric's just a lot simpler, and the battery technology's there now where we don't really need to go with hybrids. So any vehicle that runs now on petrol or diesel could also run on electric. So right now around the world there are electric trucks, tractors, buses, motorcycles, boats, and even planes. This here, it's not a converted car. This is one you buy from a factory already Tesla Model S. The company is pretty revolutionary. When you buy one of these cars, you don't go to a car lot, you go to a shopping mall, and they've just got a tiny store with one car in there, with a few paint panel
Swatches.
Yeah, that's right, and some cloth selections for your interior, and you just customize the car there, choose what you want, and they'll deliver it to your house. So they're not they're making enemies with a lot of the car yards over there, and what they're doing is they're setting up a supercharger network all across America now. So if you own a Tesla, you can drive anywhere across America for free, recharging off of their supercharger network. That really dispels the myth of, well, the chicken and the egg problem. Everyone said, the company said, we're not going to build an electric car because there's no charging infrastructure, and no one's going to build any charging infrastructure because there were no cars. So they just went ahead and did it. They're doing it in Europe as well, but really it's not even that much of a problem. What's happening now is people with their own converted cars at home are finding that they're only recharging their car 2 or 3 times a week. So you don't really even need the charging stations out in public spaces. You can have it at home or at your office. So why should we convert our vehicles to electric?
That's why.
That's pretty obvious reason enough right there. Well, oil for petrol manufacturing is becoming more environmentally destructive and politically insane to extract. That's the Canadian tar sands you can see there. Yeah, not to mention the political unrest, and if the cost of World War I and the 2 Gulf Wars were added to the pump price of petrol, we would certainly be paying a lot more than $1.60 a litre. Obviously the cost of war isn't, that's paid through our taxes and whatnot, but they're there to protect the supply lines of oil into the market. So we are paying for it. And if you have an electric car, you can just conveniently charge up at home. You don't have to pull into a petrol station anymore. They're fast, smooth and quiet. They're really nice to drive. So, who can build one? Anyone can build one. Just expect a few skin knuckles and a few extra coins in your swear jar. Some tool skills will help, and somewhere to actually do the conversion is definitely going to be a good thing. But yeah, you can just learn as you go. This guy here, Brandon Hollinger, this is a good example of someone who you would never expect to jump in and start converting cars to electric. He's onto his 3rd car here. This is an old London cab. He's a professional musician. He plays the oboe or bass clarinet or something like that. He's a very quiet-spoken sort of guy. You never expect him to be getting his hands dirty and converting a car. But he's just taking his time. He knows how to make lists, and you can just research all of these things for yourself on the internet. It's easy enough. So there he is, simplifying it all out and just making a checklist of all the things that you need to know and what's going on. He's got a really good website and YouTube channel, Amp Revolt. Oh, and if anyone would like, I've got a links document that I can give you, and it's got lots of really cool information on where to go and where to buy parts and how-tos, things like that. So this is a screenshot of the folder I've got on my computer with all the different systems separated out, and all the little bits of research and things that I've been doing online. This is probably a year's worth of looking around. Mind maps are also really handy. If you've never used a mind map before, just really helpful to separate out all the different things that you want to keep tabs on. Alright, so you've decided that you want to convert a car to electric. Now it's time to select a car. This is probably not a good car to convert to electric. If it was a hunk of junk before, it's going to be a hunk of junk after. want to choose a car with a nice rust-free body. If you don't know what's involved in rust removal and repair, just don't even go there. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money. Yeah, it's not worth it. As I said before, little sports cars or any cars that have a club behind them are a good choice, because you're going to have all that part support for a long time into the future as well. And if you need to know anything specific, there's going to be forums online for that car, like you need to get down under the dash and remove something or whatever. Someone's already done it. There's going to be photos and videos on YouTube. So pick a well-known car that is going to, there's going to be a lot of support for. Alright, so next you start ripping out all of the petrol engine parts and associated parts. Things like your exhaust system, petrol tank, fuel lines, radiator, the main engine itself, and sometimes the gearbox, depending on your particular setup. If the car was running when you purchased it, you can then recoup some of your money by selling off these parts. And then you go about installing all of the electrical parts back in. So, main part being the electric motor, number one there. That just goes back into the same place where the petrol engine was, either via a coupling or directly to your tail shaft or through the gearbox. Next are the batteries, shown number 2 there. They go back where the petrol tank was. You can see this is from 2010. Back then they were using a lot more batteries and sticking some under the bonnet as well. Lithium battery technology has gotten a lot better just in the last few years, and we're finding that you only really have to put some in the boot. The other major component that really matters for now is number 3. That's your motor controller. So that takes your throttle input from your foot and just delivers enough electricity to the motor so that you can smoothly take off. Everything else, I'll leave that up to you to research. So why electric cars? Yeah, aren't they slow, dorky, take a long time to recharge, that sort of thing? Well, firstly, electric motors are very efficient. They're about 85 to 95% efficient compared to an internal combustion engine, which is only about 20% efficient. So to make sense of that, for every $1 that you spend on petrol, only 20 cents of that is actually going into moving the car forwards. 80 cents is just being wasted out the tailpipe as noise and smoke. Yeah, some people like the noise of petrol-powered vehicles, but when you consider how much they're paying for it, it's not really worth it. Compared to your electric car, which 85–90% of the electricity in the battery pack is actually taking you to where you want to go. In the early days, yes, they were heavy and slow with a poor range. This is an old picture of one of the first sort of concepts. They used a lead acid battery like what we have in our cars now to start your internal combustion engine. This car had a range of about 60 kilometers. In 2 years' time, when those lead acid batteries were kaput, that would have had a range of about 20 kilometers. And the discharge curve of lead acid batteries is terrible. So as you drive along, the car just gets slower and slower and slower until it's flat. Lithium battery technology, however, is a lot better. When the batteries are flat or nearing to flat, you've still got full power right to the end of the charge curve. They're also much lighter, and the cost over time for lithium is actually much cheaper. And what about charge times? Well, charge times have gotten a lot quicker as well. This is on this website, you can order an open source designed charger, or you can buy it fully constructed for $2,300. You can buy just parts for half that and build it yourself, or the design's freely available online, so you can build it yourself if you want to. It has a 25 kilowatt output. Compare that to the onboard charger in a Nissan Leaf. That's only got a 3.3 kilowatt output. So this could charge my converted Skyline in about 2 hours, and this 25 kilowatt output gives you roughly 130 kilometers of range for every hour of charge time that it's plugged in. So, yeah, why convert your car to electric? Why not keep the internal combustion engine, but just use hydrogen or biofuels, things like that? Well, actually, the infrastructure is already there for electric cars. We've already got this national electric grid. We've already got plugs at home. If you've got solar or wind at home, it's even better. It's actually biofuels and hydrogen that require new infrastructure. And when you're talking about biofuels, you're displacing food resources and land resources that drive up the international price of food. Hydrogen as well, it doesn't store well. It's the smallest element on the periodic table. It literally just passes through containment vessels and through the valves. You store it there and it just slowly leaks out over time. It doesn't store easily. So, how far will it go on a charge? Well, EV conversions right now, people converting their cars at home to electric, have a range of roughly 100 to 150 kilometers on a charge. Doesn't sound like much when you compare that to what a petrol car has. Roughly 450, 500, some have a lot more. But in 2010, the average daily distance driven here in Australia was 38 kilometres per day. So that greatly exceeds the needs for your daily range requirements. If you needed to go somewhere longer, on a weekend or whatever, right now you can hire a petrol car for the weekend. Battery technology is always getting better, so that range will get better as time goes on as well, and more on that in a minute. So right now, the total conversion costs of your average at-home EV is about $20,000 for a good setup, plus the donor vehicle cost. Using these CALB CA series lithium batteries, you're going to be spending about $10,000 just on the batteries themselves. That sounds like a lot, but when you add that up over the life of the batteries, roughly 8 to 10 years, the lithium batteries do work out in your favour. I spend roughly $5,000 a year on petrol with my Toyota Hilux Ute. It's a 4-cylinder. I'm hauling around 400 kilograms plus in the tray all the time. I drive average 450 k's a week. So, span that over 10 years. Batteries do work out. More on that in a second. Towards the end of 2012, the US Department of Energy enlisted the help from scientists and engineers. They're putting research towards the 555 battery program. They want to develop a battery with 5 times the storage capacity at 1/5 the cost within a 5-year time frame. So that's huge. So a car that's now converted doing 100 to 150 k's on a charge, that's now 500-600 kilometers on a charge at 1/5 the cost. So that's pretty bloody awesome. Yeah, but I'm an early adopter. I can't wait for that. I'm going to put up with the 150 kilometer range for now. Okay, so we'll do the cost analysis here of the battery pack. So this is an old VW dual cab Ute. It's a pretty odd vehicle. You probably don't see many of these around, but believe it or not, they're a very common EV conversion. The VWs have a funny transaxle gearbox which just goes really well with an EV conversion. They're just really easy to bolt up and use, so very popular. The reason I chose this for an example is because it has an overall average weight and size of most of the cars around. It weighs 1,600 kilos after the conversion. That's only 50 so kilos off of what it weighed before. It has a 22 kilowatt hour battery pack. Doesn't matter if you don't know what that means. That's just like the size of its fuel tanks, 22 kilowatt hours, giving it a range of 100 kilometers. Top speed 120. So if you calculate how much it would cost to recharge it in electricity, using the average Australian electricity price of about 25 cents per kilowatt hour, that costs you $5.50 in electricity to recharge it. Does anyone know what they're paying on their bill for electricity at the moment?
Lots.
We're paying about 27 cents per kilowatt hour. But if you're on solar panels or whatever, you're laughing. So if you add up all that cost to give you the 450 kilometre range of its pre-existing petrol use, that then costs you $24.75. Comparative cost in fuel at $1.60 a litre is $80 per tank. And when you add up the cost of the batteries plus the cost of electricity over an 8-year time frame, so I'm being pretty conservative on the life of the battery, they'll probably outlast 8 years. I worked that out to be $19,234 over 10 years. If you do the maths on the petrol, not to mention the servicing involved, you know, your oil changes and your spark plugs and your fan belts and everything else that goes along with internal combustion, just the fuel for that 8 years is $32,000. So the battery and the electricity works out in your favour. What about the lithium? That's one people's main concern, is the resources that go into building an EV. Is where does it all come from? Isn't it, all the embodied energy that goes along with it. The Nissan Leaf here, it has a 24 kilowatt hour battery pack. That gives it a range of 130 to 160 kilometres. It requires 2.4 kilograms of pure lithium. The Skyline that I'm converting there will have a 50 kilowatt hour pack that will use 5 kilograms of lithium. Tesla Model S, 8.5 kilos of pure lithium for its battery pack. The Tesla Model S has a range of about 450 kilometers per charge. So yeah, right now lithium is extracted from dried up salt lakes. It's literally just scooped up off the dried up salt lakes and processed and turned into a pure form to make batteries. So what's currently in the world's known reserves equals to about 13 million tonnes of lithium. When you add in the estimated resources of Bolivia and Afghanistan, two of the other world's highest known resources of lithium, you get roughly double that again, so a total of 26 million tonnes of lithium. But if you then work that out in electric car terms, that's only going to build you roughly 300 million Tesla Model S's. So that's not enough lithium for everyone in the world to have an electric car, a mobile phone, a laptop, cordless drill, whatever else cordless device you can think of. But there's another awesome source of lithium in the world. That's in seawater. There is roughly 230 billion tonnes dissolved in seawater. Compare that to your 26 million on land. There are companies around the world right now looking at extracting lithium from seawater. One company in South Korea plans to extract lithium from seawater and intends to produce 30 tonnes annually by 2015. Japanese researchers concluded the technology was 5 times too expensive to be economically viable, but the South Korean scientists have improved the efficiency extraction by 30%. So the lithium in seawater thing is something to consider. But remember, the battery is just a fuel tank for electrons. So given more time and research, no doubt we'll come up with more efficient ways of using the lithium, and perhaps not even lithium at all. There's already lots of other different ways of building a battery. So what happens to the battery after it's no longer usable in an electric car? This graph shows the storage potential of the battery decreasing over time. That's 480 recharges of the battery pack. You've lost roughly 7% or something in its capacity. The lithium battery technology now, after 10 years, will have reduced about 80% of its original capacity. You could still continue to use it in your car at 80%. That's not a problem. But probably by the time that's happened, lithium battery technology will have advanced further. It'll be in your favour to get the next technology and then stick this battery out of your electric car and attach it to your house. You can then use that to bank the electricity from your solar panels and your wind turbines, and then send it back to the grid when the peak prices are happening, or just save it up. So that 50 kilowatt hour battery pack out of my Skyline at 80% capacity is 40 kilowatt hours. Looking at our bill the other day, we used roughly 5 kilowatt hours of electricity per day, so that's 8 days of potential electricity stored up in that battery pack there. And the battery should last another 10 years beyond the use in the car, so there's a lot of use there. Okay, so where do you go if you want to find out more information? Well, on the internet, obviously. These two crazy characters, they've been doing EV conversions for 5 or 6 years now, and they've got an amazing YouTube channel. And these guys come out of the .com bubble. They're computer programmers, they're incredibly intelligent, they have highly detailed videos on how to convert cars to electric. They get right down into the nitty-gritty. They are getting on a bit, and they do tend to ramble, so I suggest that you download the videos, rip them off of YouTube, play them through VLC at 1.5 times speed, because it sounds normal. And as you're watching it, take some screenshots or whatever, add notes to your pictures and stuff, as I've been doing in all my folders there, because it's a goldmine. There's so much good information on that show. They also have an online store where you can order parts, and they've got forums as well. These guys at evwest.com, they're who I ordered a lot of my components from, those motors and also my motor controllers. Yeah, these guys at EV West, they're really cool, they're really helpful, and they've got a really good YouTube channel. They do custom conversions as well, and yeah, if you want to know more, head to their website. But they're really cool because they've started putting kits together. So rather than going through the whole ordeal of trying to find out all the parts that you need to use, they've got kits for about 16 different cars now, and that list is growing all the time. So you can go on there, have a look at what cars they make kits for, choose a car, buy their kit. Each kit is roughly $7,000, not including your battery pack. So 7 plus your battery plus a donor car. It works out pretty well, and then saves you a lot of time and hassle. Also, the DIY electric car forums. This is another goldmine. If you want to know anything, it's on there. There are so many people active on there. Over in America, there's already thousands of cars converted to electric. Well, not only cars, but everything's already been done. So if you want to know how to do it, it's already there. And like I said before, any forums for that particular car or motorbike or whatever that you choose to convert, yeah, definitely get on there. As well as the Australian Electric Vehicle Association. A lot of people didn't know that these guys even exist, but they're in every capital city in Australia. They have monthly meetings, and the guys here in Brisbane are really cool. They're all like engineers and stuff, and anything you want to know, they know what they're talking about. They can even sign off on roadworthies and things like that for any of the custom fabrication that you have to do. You usually have to get it signed off by an engineer. They're there to do that, and they're more than willing to help out new people convert their project as well. And even if you don't have an electric car, they're more than welcome people to go and sit in on their meetings. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Yeah. Yeah, if you've got any questions or whatever, I'm more than happy. Yeah.
As I understand it, there's inner city driving, there's suburban driving, and there's highway driving. I believe that someone said that for highway driving, batteries are far more efficient because there's less of a drain on the torque or something. Could you explain
That's
that?
right. I guess, well, just like in a petrol-powered car, you'll see on the specs of like a new car, they'll give you petrol consumption for city driving versus highway driving. When you're on the highway, your engine is already just, it's at one constant RPM. It's not going up and down and changing speed. So you're just coasting along, not chewing up as much energy. Same goes with electric, I suppose. But I would say that electric cars are still great for the city because they're automatic. There's a lot of torque there, they're very smooth takeoff. Electric motors are actually really powerful, and they're very responsive to throttle inputs. They're really comfortable to drive around the city as well. Yeah, but highway driving is always more efficient once you're cruising instead of the stop-start. I don't know, does that kind of what you mean?
I think it was something more to do with the power drain, just compared to a fuel engine. Like when you're doing 100 in a car, the carburetor opens the volume of fuel going through it as to that speed, relative to the amount of power that you use in a battery is a little more efficient. That's what I believe.
Oh, compared to the battery?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm saying the battery is more efficient to the volume of fuel that you're using in the injector.
Yeah, I would say so. I think one of the things with petrol-powered engines or internal combustion, there's some cars out there, they have an 8-cylinder engine, some of the higher-end stuff, and they'll actually shut down cylinders on the highway when they're cruising along to try and stop wasting so much fuel. Internal combustion always has that minimum requirement of power delivery to sustain motion, and they're wasting so much energy as they're cruising along. I'm not really sure what else to say.
I've seen lithium batteries from China that are a lot cheaper than that to buy in large packs. Is it the discharge rate or the lifetime that's shorter to make them cheaper, or?
There are a few different chemistries of lithium batteries. Like you may have seen some of the ones for like radio control models. Is that what you were looking at?
No, big packs like lithium ion phosphate big packs.
Oh, phosphates?
Made in various ways,
Yeah. They may be some of the older stuff. There is still a lot of the older generation stuff available online. So they might be some of the ones that are cheaper. But for an electric conversion, I think the Calbs are definitely your best bang for your buck in terms of weight and volume and longevity. And there are some other chemistries out there, like unfortunately the Tesla, its battery, it'll get about 3,000 cycles if used nicely, but it can be a lot less than that. There's a few different kinds of ways of making a lithium battery at the moment.
How far is your project? Is it still a long way, or?
Still quite a ways, still quite a ways. The motor setup that I chose to use is, I guess, kind of experimental, and the guys that fabricated all the parts to put it together were quite a ways off from making it commercially available, so I've been waiting a long time to get the parts, but luckily they've landed, and I can start ripping everything out now. yeah, I've been looking into it for about a year, seriously, gaining knowledge and doing research and stuff on it. But it's actually now that I can start ripping it apart. Our friend and I have converted a bicycle to electric as well. That's another good way to learn what the different components and things are. It's a lot cheaper. You can see everything, it's all there. Yeah, it's pretty powerful too. It's pretty fun. It's definitely not legal, that's for sure.
What about the 25 kilometres an hour?
That's the limit.
That's the limit?
Yeah. We
legal limit.
and 200 watts as well. 25k is 200 watts, and the gear ratio that we've got doesn't quite match the bike, and it's holding it back from its full potential. But with the test runs that we've done so far, we've already got it up to 75.
Oh my god!
It will do well over 100.
Just putting a huge
I can definitely vouch that electric is not slow.
Is this like a push bike or a motorbike?
Push bike.
Compared to push bike. Oh god.
So you're a bit of a novice with all the fears.
Yeah.
So you said something about the gearbox that comes out right.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
There's no shifting.
Yeah, do. That's a good idea. A lot of people fresh.
Yeah.
So electric has very low torque at low speed, so you don't need a gearbox.
Yeah.
Full power, full torque.
For ease of conversion, a lot of people will keep the gearbox there and essentially bolt the electric motor through the gearbox. And most people just leave it in second, don't even touch the clutch, and just put your foot down and go. It's pretty easy to drive around.
So what happens if you want to tow a child a bit, kind of all stuff?
Electric motors are very torquey. Like the EV West conversion kit for an old Beetle, it ended up having double the power than the original Beetle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with this tiny little electric motor that fits in there. Yeah, electric would be great for towing. Yeah.
Does your motor and motor control then you eventually put regenerative brakes in, or is that sort of ruled out?
It's definitely not ruled out for home conversions. For that you need a AC motor, a 3-phase AC motor. I'm using a DC brushed motor, so that doesn't lend itself to regenerative braking. They don't like to go backwards. But yeah, I'm going for fun and speed and less of the saving energy thing. Yeah.
So there's no brushless DC motors you know of that will lend itself to that sort of thing?
There's a lot of the kits that EV West sells for those 16 cars, those are all AC systems and they all have regenerative braking. Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly a lot out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anywhere that does do it yourself conversions in Brisbane, or is it still do it yourself at the moment?
I think for now it's still do it yourself. There are guys in that club talking about starting a business. One guy there's he's a distributor for parts here in Brisbane. He's talking about doing conversions. I think there's a company down in Melbourne that was doing them. But yeah, mainly it's all do it yourself right now. Yeah. Yeah.
How many hours have you spent so far on converting your car? Because that's another cost.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I saw him in the garage doing it, and he looked like he was enjoying himself.
Yeah, that's right. I like to tinker on things, so.
Intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not sure. I don't know how long people spend doing it, but to give you an example, a couple of the guys that do show their stuff on YouTube. One guy was on to like his 5th or 6th conversion, and he decided he was going to tackle a rusty old classic and bring that back and convert it to electric. And he spent weeks, months getting the rust out of it, and it took him a week to convert it to electric. So if you know what you're doing, it's pretty quick. Yeah.
Because I don't think it's practical for everyone to convert their own. Not everyone.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
No.
So
It's just
Yeah.
the same
you
as it's
definitely get knowledgeable.
But just the same as it's not practical for everyone to have a vehicle as well. If you've got
that's right.
access to public transport.
75 days on a push bike sounds very good. What is involved in the conversion of a push bike? I mean,
Not much.
Yeah, not a lot.
That sounds like a lot of fun actually.
Yeah, you can get hub motors, so you buy a wheel that has the electric motor built into it. So you just unbolt the standard wheel, put the other one back in, mount the controller and your batteries on there, and put a little throttle on the handlebar, and you're good to go.
There's a bike manufacturer at the moment, Specialized. They actually make electric bikes now, and they're a top speed of 45 kilometers, but they limited to 25 according to Australian law.
So
It's
Harley getting
7,000.
one and Melbourne.
That's right. They're like $7,300 to buy.
You can get an electric motorbike for about 12 grand.
Yeah, that's
This one
right.
you don't need a license, you don't need to register them, so you're saving in the long run. It's like a normal bike.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy, but it looks like a normal bike.
Yeah.
You wouldn't guess.
That opens up a lot of transport corridors for someone who wouldn't normally want to ride to work. You know, they can then blat along the street to get to a bikeway, and then they can cruise along there. Yeah, electric bicycles are a great idea. Electric bicycles in China are actually getting really popular.
You get an electric scooter.
Get a little trailer if you want to carry it.
Charging of the batteries.
Yeah, but you don't need a motorcycle.
Yeah.
What sort of system? A normal system, you need to buy something special for the batteries you're talking about?
You have an onboard charger in the car, and when you're at home, you have another little voltage jumper so that you can fast charge it at home. You can also have a portable one that you can bring that fast charger with you. But you also have a standard plug, so you can charge from a 240 volt 10 amp outlet. So if you're at your friend's place or whatever and you're at the end of your range, when you get there, you can charge it up overnight off a standard plug. Out of the standard plug, you're looking probably like 5 hours to recharge versus your 1 or 2 hours off the fast charger.
But with the actual charger itself,
Yep.
is that a standard charger or is it something special that goes with the battery?
Yeah, it is something special. Yeah, yep. It's not like a lead acid battery charger. Yeah.
Can you just run it off the house electricity though?
Yeah.
5 hour
Yeah.
charge.
Yeah, off a standard outlet it'd be 5 hours, and if you've got the nice setup, you can do it in 1 or 2.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So 25 amp or 30 amp.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how much does it cost you so far for your car, man? The car and selling the parts and buying parts, and what's the final figure going to cost for you?
Like I said, it is overkill. I could probably do 2 cars with the parts that I'm using. And even just one half of it would still be a pretty quick car.
So you're going to be able to burn rubber?
Oh yeah. Easily. Yeah, that's right. We've got a lot of people here that just don't believe the electric car can be fun, so yeah, I want to make it fun. So, I don't know, rough estimate, $60,000. Wow. Yeah.
Ferrari and Lamborghini owners will have tears in their eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just got a little theory that I just thought of. It's a bit confusing, but if you
Sure.
download your battery power into your car with your battery, and I'll go to the gym or whatever, can
Yeah.
I like run appliances off my car and then?
Certainly.
Yeah, that's like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I can go back to I like gaming, so I can go game off my car.
Yeah.
And then I can go to work, charge my car, come back, and then drive.
Yeah.
On drive.
You could essentially charge at work every day and never charge at home, and then come home and you could power your house off of what you sucked out of your work.
Yeah, 'cause at work I'm always like power points everywhere. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. Charging my car for me, right?
Yeah.
I might just leave it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you ever take it a step further and put solar panels on the roof of the car?
Some people do put the thin film solar panels into the roof of the car, but the charge time is pretty slow. It's not really worth it. But some people do use that to power environmentals, like if you park it out in the sun and you want to have it keeping itself nice and cool when you come back, you could use it to run your aircon. but the amount of power that you get out of a solar panel is pretty negligible. Yeah, it wouldn't do much to recharge your battery pack.
Take it back on.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then how is it that there's planes that fly on solar?
They're very lightweight. The plane itself is very lightweight. I'm pretty sure it's quite slow. It's got a massive wing on it with a lot of lift. I don't think
Like
it
a
goes very
sailplane sort of
fast.
thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Gliders.
No, I don't think it has much payload. Yeah.
Drones.
Yeah.
I know you travels on the internet.
Yeah.
Through the forums. Did you see anybody discussing like a complete open source EV car? Because we've got this revolution in 3D
Yeah.
printing. It's, from what I understand, it's not necessary to have a metal body car.
That's
Henry
right.
Ford built the hand car.
Yeah.
We've got the memory plastics that Jacques Fresco talked about.
Yeah.
As these costs come down through 3D printing machine and people operating commercial 3D printing presses, is there anyone in forums who's thinking about, can we design cars which are going to be lighter in their body weight so we can have actually smaller motors, smaller battery packs, and bring the cost down? Is anyone actually thinking of this complete open source concept yet?
Definitely. That website with the open source charger, you know, that's one example. There's open source controllers, the power distributor.
There's also open source ecologies developing their own car, so
Wow.
that's one.
Yeah.
I think they're doing that this year.
Yeah, cool. And there's a lot of people in 3D printing who are in electric cars. A lot of the little components, custom components and things, people are building from 3D printed stuff. Yeah, that if you're building an electric car, you're probably a little bit out of the mainstream anyway, and you're probably thinking like that already. Definitely. Yeah. But converting an old car is a good way to do it. You're upcycling an old vehicle and giving it a new lease on life as well. Yeah, but definitely the lightweight thing would be a great idea. Yeah.
So I'm just going to show the video, I guess?
Oh yeah. So just to sort of show you that electric vehicles definitely are not slow. Yeah.
So this is James's car, is it?
Very bad.
Is this the TT?
Looks like
It
it.
did
They
race
do that in
that
the TV,
TT.
TT.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty good, hey, for a bike, that sounds pretty sweet, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely get that
That's not-
sensation of sound
that's not far
without
off this,
pissing off
street.
everyone in the whole neighbourhood.
Yeah.
You can hear the motors revving and everything, but you're not pissing off people miles away from you.
Reverberating the entire thing.
Yeah, that was actually footage from the Pikes Peak Hill Climb race. The car with the camera mounted on the front. Look out for that guy this year. He won the Pikes Peak Hill Climb like 5 or 6 years in a row, and then split from that team and decided to build an electric car to race up Pikes Peak. The first year in qualifying, he was ahead of everyone, petrol cars, everything included. Unfortunately, in race run, his car caught fire and he didn't finish the race. The second year he came back, last year, 2013, yeah, he was again well ahead of the pack in qualifying. But then before the electric class came out, it rained and the track was wet, so the times were a lot slower. But he still got like 5th overall out of about 50 cars. So this year, look out for that. No doubt he's going to win it. That bike, that won outright at Pikes Peak that year, last year. Yeah, just dominated.
Against petrol bikes.
Against petrol bikes, it won outright. Beat
What
everything.
CC, like, with the bikes?
Oh, 1,000, 1,300. Like
An electric bike beat them.
Yeah. The motors and setup that I'm using in the car that should accelerate it to 100 k's in about 3 seconds.
That's one.
You just got to lift off when you go.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, because you've got maximum power instantaneously. You're not waiting for revs to build up and turbos to spin up and everything.
Maybe the tires are gone before the
I think
car
so.
goes off.
I'm going to need a tyre sponsor. Someone's got to invent a more sustainable tyre, please.
What about traction control? So it couldn't slide its tyres.
if you convert a car that has traction control, you can do that, but 1987, nah. Yes.
You've heard of the White Zombie, I guess?
Yes, definitely. One of my heroes. YouTube, the White Zombie. It's a little 1970-71 Datsun, and it's street legal, daily driven. The guy's fortunate enough to recharge it off of hydropower in Oregon, where he is, and he drag races that thing, and it covers a quarter mile, 100 meters in about 10 seconds, and yeah, people just walk away crying when they do this. It's pretty funny.